Rec 17, now moving on lift 3.
Welcome everyone to the State of the Museum presentation for 2021. I am Anne Marie Miller, Vice President of Development here at the museum. And it's been quite a year, hasn't it? And through all the highs and lows and ups and downs of this past year, one thing has remained consistent, and that has been the support from our museum community. So I just want to take a minute to say thank you to all of our members and our Visionary Society members who have not only stuck with us over the past year, but have also in many cases increased your support. And that support is the whole reason that all of us are able to stand up here tonight and tell you about all the wonderful things that are happening at the Peoria Riverfront Museum. And so without any other remarks, let me introduce Steve Jackson, the chairman of our board of directors and the leader of our Visionary Society.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for coming. We're going to try to talk about a lot of important things tonight. I'm going to start with just a general overview. So the State of the Museum is outstanding. For me personally, for I'm sure everyone seated here and hopefully the folks looking in, the museum is becoming an increasing source of pride here in Central Illinois. I look at the work that our staff does, the time and commitment that the board makes, and I could not be more proud than to be associated with this group. We're going to have a number of people come forward, tell you a little bit about the difficult year that we've come through and the flying colors in which we came through it. There's been some outstanding work by the just wonderful staff here at the museum. I won't go into all those details. We need to leave something for John to say when he comes up. And we've got 7 board members that are going to join me for a little bit of a back and forth. After we do that, we're going to move on to staff coming and filling these chairs, I believe is correct. So let's just get started. Things here are in great shape, and we have lots of good news to report. So I'm going to call your name. If you'll come down, I'm going to sit here. Maybe because I'm shortest. Oh, you know what? I forgot to tell you. You can tell it's a big day in Peoria because I'm wearing long pants. And so that's a really good thing. Sometimes I put on a tie. You all have had the hundreds of Zoom meetings. I don't think anybody's wearing pants in those meetings, but today I put clothes on to come here. So, you know, it's a big day. So Brian Ray's our treasurer. He'll give us an overview from his point of view, and he'll be the first to speak. We're going to get everybody to fill these chairs. Sarah Zalek, you're next up. Sarah is the chair of the Education and Engagement Committee, and she'll have a couple of things to say to you. Eric, come on down. Eric Hurd, chair of the Friends of Bronzeville to Harlem. Karen Jensen, she's our incoming board treasurer, and she'll fill us on a couple of areas she's been closely involved in. Colleen is still here, right? Where are you, Colleen? There you are. I would say your last name, but I screw it up, and so this is Colleen. She's been the chair of the collections committee. She's leaving the board. She has given us 6 wonderful years, and all things collections she knows everything about. Lisa Gates, our board secretary. Come on down. And John envisions this being, I don't know, he said Phil Donahue. That doesn't fit me very well. And this is not going to be an interview. As much as he'd like it to be that, we each have a couple of talking points that I think the result of talking about these things, you'll get a pretty clear picture of what's happening here at the museum. So Brian Ray, as the treasurer, tell us about the financial overlook and where we're headed.
Well, thanks, Steve. And I want to start by saying a couple things. First, because I know she's in the audience, I want to thank Vicki Stewart. I came to town about 4 years ago, and in my adult life, I had probably stepped foot in any museum about 3 times. And shortly after coming into town, Vicki, the wife of my predecessor, asked me to lunch and asked me if I would consider a role at the Peoria Riverfront Museum. And as any of you would do if your predecessor's wife asked you to do something, you say, yes, ma'am. And I have been unbelievably blessed by the last 3.5 years that I have been involved with this board, with this staff. And so I thank you, Vicki, because I would have never chosen it, and I feel so lucky. So as Steve mentioned, the last 3 years, I have been the treasurer, which suits me well. I like numbers. And, you know, I started on the board about the same time that John started in his role at the museum. And I think that was the perfect, wonderful storm, right? John's leadership, as you all know, has been tremendous. And I've been able to kind of ride the success of John and this unbelievable staff and the board. I'm on several boards in town, so don't tell anybody else I said this, but this is undoubtedly the best board, not only in town, but it is the best board I have ever served on in my professional career, and there have been plenty. What you really want to know is that this has been a historic year for many reasons. And from the treasurer's position, what you really want to know is that we will finish the year in the black, and we will finish the year probably as the most successful year financially that this museum's ever had. That's due to no one person, no one thing, no one grant, no one anything. It has been a collective effort. It has been hard work by the board and much, much harder work by the staff of this museum. We had a board meeting a few minutes ago, and I recognize the staff and the incredible work they've done because, as you well know, since you're here, you have received many, many an email, many a video, and we learned this year, when I say we, I mean they, because I had nothing to do with it, learned how to bring the museum to you since you couldn't come to the museum. And they did it in a unbelievably quick and professional way, and we really gained momentum, and you were such a big part of that. The feedback that we got from folks who were receiving those emails and that education, the number of opens that we saw in the email, the number of watches that we saw on the videos that we sent out, was really remarkable. And so they kept going, and it built the confidence in the staff, and that is a wonderful self-fulfilling prophecy. So we have, in the last 3 years, nearly tripled, it's really 250% maybe, the Visionary Society memberships. You've heard John talk many times from a financial standpoint about there's the earned revenue side of the museum and there's the philanthropic side of the museum. And the philanthropic side is divided into several different categories, but the support from the folks in the community, the support from the folks who are in this room, has really elevated us to a new level that we've never experienced as long as we've been the Peoria Riverfront Museum. And I am really proud to exit my first 3-year term as treasurer to be able to present to you, again, not only that it was a balanced budget, it was a budget in excess of break even, and we have really set ourselves up well to go into next year. I'm not going to bore you with the actual numbers. There's maybe only one person, because I know Doug's here, who'd like the actual numbers, but I think that's where I'm going to leave it, Steve.
Great. Thanks, Brian. I know you have to get to another commitment,
Yeah.
right? So probably home. And I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your comments, and maybe you could take this time to exit, and we'll just move on.
Yeah, I appreciate that I need to run, but it was a pleasure to be here, and thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks. Okay, Sarah Zalik, most everybody here knows you, right? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, we can't see them. I'm just telling you, if they're museum people and Peoria people, they know you. So Sarah's going to spend a few minutes as our Chair of Education and Engagement Committee. Pardon me?
Hold your mic up so that
Thank you
people
very
can hear
much,
you.
and my mother. So I apologize. Thanks, Mom.
I'm Phil Donahue.
You know. Anyway, Sarah's going to spend a few minutes talking about the Dome Planetarium and the Giant Screen Theater. So,
First of all, it's DiGianardo. Am I right? Yeah. So Colleen's last name is DiGianardo. So we'll get there.
Thanks
but
again.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
I didn't
Perfect.
want to,
Yeah.
Also, I'm a little concerned
I'm used
about
to
your.
being corrected. Just move on, Sarah.
I'm a little concerned about your tan lines now that you're wearing grown-up clothes. So you better hurry up and get back to the shorts.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So as much as numbers suit Brian Ray, entertainment suits me very well. And so my role as the chair of the Committee of Education and Engagement includes things like the Giant Screen Theater and the Dome Planetarium and the programming that happens here. It really just includes me listening to the staff talk about the great programs and things that they're developing and doing and providing for the community. So the two pieces of this, the Dome Planetarium and the Giant Screen Theater, have undergone some changes. Let's talk about the Dome Planetarium first. Are you guys going to talk in a few minutes, or are you guys just going to be up here as panelists to answer questions? Renee?
They're gonna
Okay.
talk.
All right, so I don't need to steal your thunder, but the Dome Planetarium has undergone a physical transformation with brand new equipment, state-of-the-art Digistar projection system, thanks to the kindness of generous donation, and it's spectacular. You'll tell us about it in more detail later, but it's been years in the making for a refresh, and it's very much state-of-the-art. So we're lucky to have it here in Peoria. And then the giant screen theater you're sitting in. It's so good to be back in a theater. I haven't actually seen a movie yet, but I can't wait. I'm a movie fan, and what's happening now in the theater is that we're using it as an actual theater for all kinds of interesting things, including a new film series. So there's been some success in the last couple of years with some mini film series, little film festivals that have happened a couple times a year. John? Yep. So Mark Elliott, a well-regarded author of 25 books on film and very much a film historian, has partnered with the museum and now helps us lead a film series. It's every Friday night these days, and we're going to continue to grow the film series concept because this is a great place to watch classic films, new films, indie films, and I think you're going to see an expanded experience in the giant screen theater. So I applaud what the museum and staff has done to really grow this tremendous resource of this what better words than giant screen theater. So I will pass it on to Eric Hurd after Steve Jackson.
Yeah, thanks. Do you have any further corrections you want to make of me before we move on? Save them till later. We'll have a question and answer. You can all pitch in with that. So next is Eric Hurd, chair of our Bronzeville to Harlem committee. Eric did some very specific, great work to make that a reality here. I hope you have all seen it. Preston Jackson is one of the most amazing human beings that I have ever met. He exudes intelligence and goodness and humbleness. He's just a wonderful man and has donated to us what I view as what has to be his total work of the heart. And for that, we're grateful. Eric played a specific role in helping to make that happen. So why don't you talk about that for a few minutes?
Thanks, Steve. Again, hopefully most of you have seen the Bronzeville to Harlem exhibit. Preston Jackson worked on that project for decades, and it started out, he probably never knew where it was really going to go along the way. So even up until early this year, he was still adding pieces to it. So as a local artist, a local gem that Preston Jackson is, again, he's donated this as a permanent installation here at the Riverfront Museum. And I think that's one of the most important things, as far as he would say, even one of his most important pieces that he's ever done. So again, with the local roots of the Bronzeville to Harlem exhibit, so it incorporates, you'll see part of the Peoria Riverfront Bridge along with sites that would be seen in the Bronzeville portion of Chicago as well as Harlem in New York. He tied it all creatively together to make it one sensational exhibit. And what they've done here at the museum in terms of the lighting and things like that and how they're incorporating music with the whole type of thing, it comes to life for all of us to really enjoy. And again, one of the most important pieces of it, again, this is a local artist, and it's good for our children to see, through our ESI program, so the young people can see the creativity and how, your imagination can take you anywhere. And I think that's probably one of the most important aspects of the Bronzeville to Harlem.
Thanks, Eric. Do you want to speak at all to Art Bridges and where that fits in here?
Well, it does tie in. Art Bridges is something by Alice Walton, where she supports American art in particular. I think that's been around for 4 or 5 years or something like that, I believe, something like that. And anyway, she supports all American artworks as much as possible, so it can be seen, because most artwork can be, stored away somewhere, and her mission is for all art to be seen by the masses, because she's so passionate about it. And again, Alice Walton, for those who don't know, was of the Walmart family, one of the children of Sam Walton. And again, a lot of her generosity, her donation, the commitment to the arts is directly benefiting the Peoria Riverfront Museum, a relationship that John Morris and the PRM team have put together to get some of those dollars and support, not just now, but moving forward. And hopefully that continues.
Thank you very much. So Alice Walton, Sam's daughter, as Eric pointed out, I think the richest female in the United States. Generous, and the art bridges, I think sometimes referred to as crystal bridges, it was about taking those things normally seen in bigger, more urban population and getting them out through the countryside to smaller places. Fits in great with our mission here. And I think John and Bill Conger in particular have done a great job of cultivating that relationship. So that's been a wonderful thing. Next up is Karen Jensen. She's our incoming board treasurer. Karen's been a member of the executive committee at an at-large position. We value her counsel here. And Karen, why don't you take it over?
Okay. I'd like to just share a little bit with you about the phenomenal remodeling of all 5 of the galleries that occurred actually within just the last 10-week period. The first of our 2 galleries were naturally designed to be changeable, but the other 3 were not, and they hadn't been remodeled for 8.5 years. So now the Owens Gallery is the Bronzeville to Harlem. Our Oberhelman Gallery is Decoys, and it has some changeable components, and of course the IHSA is now T-Rex. So again, that's pretty phenomenal that was able to be done just over a 10-week period. And in the midst of this remodeling, the museum and their staff were able to make those spaces more functional and flexible for the future and whatever exciting things the future holds for us. Also, the Givens donated for the Bronzeville to Harlem for that entire remodel, so that's pretty significant as well, and wanted to point that out. Also wanted to make mention at this time of the Every Student Initiative. We're all very familiar with that. Sally Schneider and Polly Barton developed that with a passion, and it's only grown year after year. So here we are in a year that we're not able to bring children into the museum, and the staff and leadership was very creative at coming up with another option for family fun passes. So instead of kids being able to come in over the school year, they were able to have passes that were distributed to their families, actually through the school district. And with this pass, these children were able to bring their entire family to the museum. And hundreds of students have already taken advantage of that, and we're sure there's many more to come as the summer opens up. Over 15,000 family passes were printed and distributed. That's Peoria Public Schools, East Peoria Public Schools, and a number of other schools as that program continues to expand. But I have to share with you we did have the board meeting just a few minutes ago, and John shared the excitement of just last week, a family of 12. There were 3 adults. They came in the basement, went up the stairs, ready to get their pass, and there was a young student holding up his family pass to bring his family to the museum. And the way John described it, I certainly didn't do it justice, but it was certainly heartwarming, and to hear that firsthand and the impact that the Peoria Riverfront Museum and this program is making on the community. To have all those children in, when you hear Brian Ray said that he was in a museum 3 times, and to have children coming to the museum at this age, it's going to be life-changing. So, thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Sarah, I'm going to pass the microphone to you because you know how to hold it. You know how to say Colleen's name. And she's next. So there's some notes for you and a microphone.
You're killing me. And I have to tell you that my nickname for Steve Jackson is the best person in the world. He says, would you do this? And I always say yes. So I might rib you about your tan lines, but that's because I haven't been outside in a while, obviously. And you are the best person in the world. Okay, so next we have Colleen DiGianardo. Chair of the Collections Committee, and she's going to talk about a couple of specific things regarding the collections.
Thanks, Sarah. The 101 collection exhibit is up now, and it came about because during COVID we had an exhibit that was set to be, and we postponed it. And in 6 weeks, the curatorial staff came up with this exhibit of 101 treasures. It's amazing. It took all of the stuff that was in different parts of the museum and kind of combined it into the main gallery. And because we had T-Rex in the IHSA gallery, we were able to leave it up. It has the Duryea that was on the first floor. It has the Frank Lloyd Wright chair, the insects, which were actually the first items at the Lakeview Museum, and all the way through our newest accession item, which was the wooden horse, which was from the Midwest Agricultural Museum. So if you haven't seen it, please go see it. It's fantastic, and thanks to Bill Conger and his team for putting that together so quickly. The other exhibit is, or other gallery, is the Center for American Decoys, and this is an incredible story of people who have donated different decoys. It's an original American art form, one of three, or one of very few. And it has all of the decoys. It has a Tom Figge collection right now, as well as two items we just purchased. We deaccessioned some of the decoys from our collection that were less valuable and purchased, and for the first time in a long time, a pair of mallards, which you will see, and it came from the collection of James Thompson. So it's very exciting. If you haven't seen that, please take a look, and that will be up, and it will be continuing to be built upon. So thank you very much.
The 101 Treasures exhibit, how many of you guys have seen that in the audience? So tell me one thing that you didn't know we had that surprised you. Anybody got an example? Any favorite surprises in that exhibit? The Nicholas Africano pieces. We have such a great collection, and we can't display it all, but the staff, Bill Conger and the staff, have put together this collection of some of the best of our stuff, and it's so much fun to see it out there. And the New Yorker artist who did so many of the cartoons and a cover, I mean, that's one of my favorite art forms. So it's a treasure trove. Most of you have seen it. If you haven't seen it, go. If you have seen it, go again, and you'll find treasures you might have missed. So. Do you want the mic back?
Keep moving. No, you're doing great.
I think you should introduce Lisa Gates.
It's the lady on the end. Yeah. So one of my favorite people up next that provides great advice to the board, outstanding community member, and a member of our executive committee is Lisa Gates. And Lisa, it's all yours.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
So as you've heard already, the staff has done, work that is nothing short of remarkable for the kind of year we had. And when the pandemic first hit, they did not miss a beat and immediately pivoted and said, okay, if we can't bring people into the museum, how can we bring the museum to the community? And how can we keep enriching them with great content, world-class programming, and keep it going? Really throughout the year, immediately starting following the pandemic, they have continued through email outreach, through video content, through programming, webinars, webcasts, continuing to bring the museum to the community. And I hope that you have enjoyed all of that engaging content. I know as a mother of a 5-year-old, I certainly have really enjoyed and really appreciated that as part of my supplemental learning for a very strange school year and virtual learning format that we've been all living through over the past year. But certainly really, really great content and a great way to continue to add value for all of us and even provide an escape for times that were very tough throughout the year. So a lot of great content that we hope to continue, and as we roll into the T-Rex exhibit, part of our overall strategy has been to continue bringing blockbuster hits to Peoria. And I think the T-Rex exhibit is something we're all extremely proud of, extremely excited about it. And I call it summer school for my daughter. We're just rolling in from all the great content that we've gotten over the past year. We were here last weekend, and I think she paid the highest compliment to the museum that one possibly could. She came in, and afterwards she said, "Mom, we spent 4 hours here. 90% of that was spent in the T-Rex exhibit." And she said afterwards, she said, "Mom, this was the best day ever." And I said, "What was so great about it?" And she said, I felt like I was transported to a place I've never been. And that's the power of the reach, the power of the programming, and the power of how we are inspiring lifelong learners here at the museum. So that's our goal, and that's what we continue to do every day, and that's what the amazing staff here continues to work toward, is advancing that mission. So we really thank you for all of your support. We can't do it without you. We can't do it without your engagement and your interest, and we are here for you and hope you view this as your museum as well, and that's what we're all working for. So thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. So that's her 5-year-old that's been transported someplace like I have never been. If I had a 5-year-old, they're 40 and 38 now. If I had one, it would have been best day ever. They had popcorn. So anyway, so kind of an indication of this group, their smarts, how much they contribute here. This is truly 21 people, I think, on the board, dedicated, committed, involved in the community in a lot of ways, and they do provide great work on behalf of the museum. We're going to end our piece here. Anne Marie's going to come out and introduce John and bring up the group of people here that really does the work and makes this museum what it is. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thanks to Steve and our entire board of directors for all that they do. They're, a group of volunteers, and so they do everything from the heart, and we truly appreciate it. And now, a man who really needs no introduction, but I'm here to do it anyway, Mr. John Morris.
Thank you. Do we have the best board of directors ever? How about that? Thank you to Steve Jackson, who was just elected to his 3rd term in 3 years as the chair of the board. The enthusiasm of Steve Jackson goes on, and I'm very excited about working with this board in the coming year for some big things ahead. So I want to take a couple of minutes to acknowledge some folks with us. We have something called the President's Advisory Council, which is comprised of just tremendous leaders, many of whom have served on the board already in past years, are major donors, are people of great stature in the community in their own professions and their own right. And several of them are with us tonight, and I count on them a great deal. The leader of that group is the Honorable Secretary Ray LaHood. And Ray, who helped put together all the pieces to get this museum off the ground, is with us tonight, and I'm indebted to you, Ray, for your continued support for this museum. Thanks for being here. I know of several others, if I can see through the bright lights, but I want to make special mention of Zan Ransberg for the President's Advisory Council. The Ransberg family stepped forward this year to help pay for that final push of the remodeling of the IHSA gallery that allowed for T-Rex to come in. And T-Rex would not be in that gallery without Zan Ransberg. And Zan, good to see you here tonight. Thank you for being here. I also, she was mentioned earlier, and everybody knows her as synonymous with the Peoria Riverfront Museum, and she just made it back in 5 minutes' time from being out of town, and I'm so happy she's here. But Sally Snyder, who is the founding board member of this museum, who was part of the group who forgave me for my foibles and hired me anyway on the board of directors, and who chairs the Every Student Initiative and is a pioneer of that effort. Sally Snyder is with us. I'm trying to see through the lights about the President's Advisory Council. There may be others here, and I am very grateful to you. I also want to mention that there's a separate 501c3 that many people don't necessarily know about, and that is called the Peoria Riverfront Museum Foundation. And there are up to 11 members on this board, and their jobs are to manage the $12.7 million now in the endowment fund of the Peoria Riverfront Museum. And that money, 5% of a 5-year rolling average, comes over to support the operations and programming of the Peoria Riverfront Museum. So I want to recognize the members of the foundation who are here with us tonight. Marcy Schoaf is the chair, and I see Joan Krupa, who is the chair of the Peoria Falcon Circle from that board, and Doug Stewart I saw earlier. So recognize all the members of the foundation who are here. So thank you for your leadership. One last person who sits on the President's Advisory Council, and I don't know that he would mind me saying this, but he's gone through some health challenges. It's hard to keep him down, but he's one of the most energetic and pioneering medical people the community's ever had. He's really the father of jump trading in many ways, and he is, thank God, back on his feet and in the house after coming through. Dr. Rick Pearl's in the house. So, Rick, thank you for being here. So it takes all of us in this room to do what we have done this year. In the last 15 months, I would argue, and it's difficult to quantify this, but I would argue that the Peoria Riverfront Museum community together, led by our board and the tremendous best staff in the museum business, we've pulled through a record year. We've remodeled all 5 galleries. We adapted our Every Student initiative to send passes home with the families and got hundreds of people in the museum. Anyway, we were closed for 216 days, and we never went one single day without providing inspiration to people in the community. How is that possible? We did not confuse tradition with mission. Many organizations do. Tradition is we have galleries and there are exhibitions in the gallery. Tradition is we have a theater and people come and see movies in the theater. That's what's limited by the physical tools of the mission. That's tradition, are the tools that we use. Mission is to build a community of people inspiring each other and being inspired by each other. Community people inspiring each other and being inspired by each other. And this museum, whose roots are in Lakeview Museum of Arts and Sciences, which was Lakeview Center of Arts and Sciences in 1965, that museum was special because it was not created by several collectors of major art collections who wanted to display their art in a gallery. It wasn't created by industry to say, let's teach the people what the history of the industry and the community was. Not created by those entities, and many museums around the country were. Ours was a museum created by a disparate group of fine art society. There was the reptile collectors, or whatever you call them, the herpetologists. Herpetologist, Dr. Pro. You had people who were interested in folk culture and folk art. You had people interested in quilts, and there was the African Violet Society and the Hosta Group and so forth. They all came together and said, let's get a center going where we can inspire each other and be inspired by each other. That's why I say, in studying across the country, this museum is different. It is a multidisciplinary museum unique in the nation: art, science, history, achievement. And this year, if you wanted to do a scientific test as to whether we could keep inspiring people, if you brought in a global pandemic and shut us down for 216 days, what is the answer now? Yes. Unbelievable. So I'm proud to be the name in the chair right now as the president and CEO of this institution. There's Marcy Schoaf, head of the foundation. Welcome, Marcy. And Derek Schreier, former head of the foundation. $3 million of growth in the foundation in this year alone. Thank you, Marcy, and the stock market. Folks, we got bigger things to do. Bigger things to do. Because until this museum, who has 220 partnerships, people say, do you collaborate? 220 partnerships with education and culture and medicine and social service. Just wait till you see what we do next. I'm going to bring forward a few of the people who are actually doing work like nobody's done before. And I wanted to have a brief conversation because we're going to get out of here before too long. Let me bring him forward. We'll have a quick conversation, but help me recognize, as representatives of the hardest working, most creative museum staff anywhere, the following colleagues of mine. Bill Conger. Lead curator, and a man who some of you know has had a tough year. And I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but Bill survived a near-death heart attack. And we came to tears here and still do, even thinking about it. But in his recovery, he and his team managed to remodel all 5 galleries of the museum during a global pandemic. So I don't know what the award is for that, but Bill Conger. Renee Kerrigan, science curator, planetarium director, who, I don't think she'd mind me telling you this either, because we've told people, has been dreaming about a new planetarium projection system for so long, years and years. And thanks to Jim Beard and the Planetarium Advisory Council, Nancy Snowden is here, who raised $250,000 or more to get us off the ground. And then the state of Illinois, who had a special fund for capital projects for private museums on public land. We happen to fit the bill. We acquired the greatest planetarium system of its kind in the world today, and we just installed it a month ago. And when we learned that we had the money to do it, Renee literally came to tears. And it reminds me of the passion that these folks have to bring to folks. Zach Zetterberg is our curator of art and the Center for American Decoys, and working with our chairman of the advisory group, Randy Root, who's here. Zach with Tom Figge, who's an incredible force of nature, who's lent to us, Joe and Donna Tonelli, and so many others. Zach is putting us on the map for something we have, folks, where we could be the best in the country of this particular thing. And we'll hear from Zach in a minute. Barb Dawson, who's came over from Caterpillar, new to the team, and a longtime friend of this community. Barb took over as our Director of Education and Engagement, and she and her team are the ones who really work closely with Sally Snyder. We adapted for those Every Student Initiative students to get them in here. And finally, Anne Marie Miller, who is wearing purple appropriately today, because purple is the color of the Visionary Society. And Anne Marie Miller, Vice President for Development. And let me tell you, I could bring every one of we started with 26 staff members. We had some unfilled. We ended with 21 staff members, but then doing the work the whole year. And these folks are representatives of the best staff there is. So what I'd like to do is just ask what the future holds. We're going to talk about the future. The board talked about the staff a little bit. I want to talk about the future. We'll start with Bill Conger. And Bill, tell us what's next. What's coming next summer? What's next on the schedule?
Sure. Well, we've been working. We know we've done some nice things, but we're not ready to rest on our laurels. We also know that we've had a hard year. All of us have had a hard year. And the exhibitions that we're bringing are appropriate in some ways. I guess I'll start with next summer. Let's start with that. Again, appropriate, coming through some darkness, we have a blockbuster exhibition from the American Museum of Natural History, who brought us the T-Rex, which is in there right now. Next summer, we will follow up with a third exhibition from that museum in 4 years' time. And this one is going to be as dynamic and incredible as the previous ones. This is Creatures of Light, Bioluminescent Animals. And these are creatures that blink, glow, flash. They have built-in mechanisms that are there to either warn other animals or kind of show off for for various reasons, but it will feature everything from jellyfish to glowworms to anglerfish to dinoflagellates. I don't know what that is either, but I can't wait to see the show. So Creatures of Light in the summer of 22.
Will this be I mean, this has been out on the road for a while. Will it be a tired exhibition, Bill, or will it be nicked up and worn out, or what? I know the answer to this. What's it going to look like when it gets here?
Well, that exhibition is just opened in New York City, not unlike the T-Rex show that we received right after the opening 2 years ago in New York City, minus a pandemic year. There are no scrapes on any of the T-Rex items, and there will not be on Creatures of Light either. Brand new. It's going to be incredible.
Our connection, and Bill's a major part of this, with New York City is only beginning. And we're open for people from upstate Illinois to come visit us if they'd like, because we're bringing in things that you would otherwise have to go to New York City to see. So Creatures of Light is a big one coming this summer. Tell us about the fall. Let's do one more here. What's happening in the fall?
Sure, I'll pick one. We have a number of things coming, but I'm really excited about Railroaders. The photography of Jack Delano. It's the home front photography of this gentleman who was employed in the 1940s by the Office of Wartime Information. And that sounds kind of strange, but in World War II, we needed information, and so his job was to document. And he did indeed document the railroaders of Chicago for a good part of the 1940s, eventually finding his way to the Pacific coast. These photographs are in black and white and color. They are spectacular. They're not just images of trains, although that is certainly represented. These are portraits of people, of recent immigrant families who were working the railroads. It's a very deep, meaningful examination of what you do when times are hard. And this is exciting. It comes to us, it was organized by the Chicago History Museum, sponsored by Bon and Holly French, and we're super excited about this one. It's going to be big.
Many of you know Bon French and his wife Holly. Bon is serving as sort of a guest curator for this and also paying for it to come. And since Bon was the chairman of the board of the Chicago History Museum, he had pulled the string or two for us. And this is a major get for the museum. So, Bill, thank you. That's outstanding. John. Outstanding.
Thank you all.
So, Renee, as I mentioned, has had quite a great year herself and the planetarium and for all of us in the community. But now you have the Ferrari of planetarium projection systems. Where are we going with it?
Well, I hope for all of you who are watching or for here in the audience with us today, I hope you'll come see our newly updated planetarium. It's truly breathtaking. It's beautiful. So much brighter and so much higher resolution than it was before. But not just those technical specifics. As John said, it's really a robust, fantastic software package that we have gotten as well, and a customer base that is huge and growing from the United States and around the world. So we have the ability to use big data sets to talk about things that are happening on the world right now, to show the weather that is happening, the weather patterns from around the world right now, to show where there are earthquakes around the world, to show the water currents and the oceans. And then we're also able to bring in data sets. So the potential to partner with community members that might be working with big data in their work and showcase their work on our planetarium screen is endless. So we in the planetarium are very excited to share this new system with all of our guests at the museum, and we're learning more about it every day, and it's been a lot of fun, and we're very grateful.
Yeah, Renee, we had the press conference to announce this, and the representative of Evans and Sutherland, based Salt Lake City-based firm who are the leading manufacturers of this sort of technology. Also, the firm that pioneered flight simulation. So, the representative was here for that event, and everyone's used to my hyperbolic enthusiasm, but he got up and said, this is Peoria now has the most advanced system of any planetarium in the country. So I was attempted to stand up on top of one of those chairs and jump up and down, but it's pretty exciting that our school children, particularly in our families, we've been packed to the gills since Illinois allowed us to go back to 100%. There's a waiting line for the planetarium every weekend, isn't that right? Zach Zetterberg, I mentioned him earlier. Zach, we have something really special. Flo and Sid Banwert, who are with us, are bringing, sponsoring. And I must mention that Flo is a new member of the President's Advisory Council, and Sid was just unanimously elected to the foundation board today. So I think they're with us. But the Banwerts are bringing something really extraordinary. Zach, can you talk about what's coming in next year, 2022?
Absolutely. So in March of next year, we will be bringing the quilt collection of the famous documentarian filmmaker Ken Burns. Many of you probably know his films, but it may be new knowledge that he is a passionate quilt collector, antique American quilts. All of his collection is over 100 years old. Like the movies that he makes, these quilts tell the story of America. They were collected all over the country and curated by Ken himself. The collection is really aesthetically amazing. I think Ken himself would tell you that the experience that we will have here at the museum could just be experienced with the color and the design of the quilt. But also with this, we will get a view into the collector's mind himself. So there will be quotes about each quilt that Ken said himself. And a really cool thing about this exhibit is that we are one of 3 museums that Ken is allowing to see his collection. So it's a privilege and an honor, and I think that it elevates what we're doing with the folk art collection as far in general. Like, we have a great folk art collection that encompasses much more than decoys. It encompasses quilts and coverlets and pottery, and so this is just going to take it to another level, and I'm super excited to get it here. It's going to be great.
We are anticipating people from all over the Midwest coming to see this. This is a rare opportunity to see one of the greatest quilt collections by a very, very important name. So Rick Pearl's got hands up. The question is, does Ken Burns plan on coming? Maybe let me ask another question. Does the Peoria Riverfront Museum plan on getting Ken Burns here? Of course, working with our friends at WTVP and Leslie Matuzak over there, we're already at work at trying to make that happen. So stay tuned. I need to mention Lori Baker, whose husband, Todd Baker, is the vice chairman of our board. But it was Lori who brought this idea. And it seemed impossible until I gave it to Bill and I gave it to Zach Zetterberg. And Zach called up and came back and said he'll send it. Zach Zetterberg, ladies and gentlemen.
And Rick, I do believe that we are contracted to have a call or a video with Ken, so we will see Ken in the museum. Yeah, possibly virtually.
And these are his babies. I mean, Ken Burns makes great documentaries, but this is his passion, and we're bringing his passion to Peoria. Trust me, there's some good stuff to come. Zach, one other thing, we want to go back to the Center for American Decoys real quickly, and something just happened within the last month that is a major importance. And talk about, Colleen, chair of the collections committee, mentioned earlier, but talk about what we just brought into the collection.
So a little over a month ago, I have to say, he's sitting right there, so I have to say, with the help of Randy Root, in the past few years, we brought in an extraordinary pair of Hiram Holtz mallard decoys. And the significance of these decoys to where we live is above par in so many ways. And I believe they're probably one of the finest pairs of decoys that we own and that I have seen in the museum. They are on par with any collection that we could bring in. And I couldn't be prouder that we were able to bring these back to Peoria, and we will have them forever.
These were sold right here in Peoria by a Peoria carver, Hiram Holtz. They were owned by former Governor Jim Thompson, and prior to him, one of the most important collectors in the world of decoys. And they were made possible, the acquisition, because they didn't come for free. The acquisition was made possible by the Ron Bonatti Fund, as well as the deaccession funds that we had from those decoys. So trust me when I tell you, we are on the move. And this, folks, is a group of people who are all over the country and the world who will support what we're doing. This isn't just local donors supporting it. We've raised $1.2 million toward our Center for American Decoys in the last 2.5 years, and Zach is a major part of that. So thank you, Zach, for all you're doing. That is worthy of an applause, Nancy. I would agree. Barb Dawson is tasked with a small but mighty team of really leading us into the most important area that we have, which is how do we get to the students? This is how we're going to transform our community. How do we serve them? And we started with the Every Student Initiative that you heard earlier. Sally Snyder really helped launch with the Barton Family Foundation and the late Mary Jean Bowman and more than 280 donors who put the money up. But where are we going next with the Every Student Initiative? What do we anticipate, and what's it looking like?
Well, thank you, John. It was a very exciting year this past year, and we learned, traditionally we've defined the Every Student Initiative as an in-person field trip for every student in the Peoria area. But this last year was challenging, and we redefined and we learned that the museum is not really just the building, it's also the community. And with the support of the Barton Foundation, the leadership of Sally Snyder, the guidance from Special Advisor for Education Strategy, Jody Pine, my team, we were able to come up with 3 additional new offerings for the Every Student Initiative. We talked before a little bit about the Student and Family Fun Pass, and excited to announce that we will continue that on into the new year. It will continue to be an achievement-based effort. So the students will come, if they do certain things, they will then earn the ability to come to the galleries, the big show being right now T-Rex. Next summer it will be Creatures of Light. I also wanted to mention that my team came up, since we weren't able to do in-person field trips, we came up with a virtual field trip. And it was basically taking everything that would have been here to the children's classrooms. And as part of that, every teacher that his or her classroom goes through the virtual field trip, we then came up with a teacher membership for the museum. Excited to announce that we will be continuing that into the new year as well. So the virtual and the teacher membership will go forward. And then finally, very excited to announce that in the new fiscal year going forward, we will be creating with the support of Greg and Jody Pine, we have a AR/VR, a virtual reality experience that the students will be coming to the museum to do here. We have 13 Z-Space units that we will be creating an experience for those students that come to the museum. And very, very excited to get that up and running. So
it's outstanding. The Pines, Jody and Greg Pine, some of you know Jody's retired principal longtime educator of St. Phil's, but was in East Peoria schools and so forth. But Jody and Greg, I think, are here. They've made a $100,000 commitment to help us get this off the ground. So thank you to the Pines. So last but not least, the fearless leader who represents you to the museum as much as she does represents the museum to you, Anne Marie Miller, who has been for all my 4 years here, the best partner in teaching people the joy of philanthropy that I could imagine. And so, Anne-Marie, tell us where we are, and the big purple, her favorite color is purple, so we've made purple the color of the Visionary Society. Tell us what's happening with development at the museum.
Thank you, John. The Visionary Society, under John's wonderful leadership, has grown. He's mentioned several times. We started out around 99 members when John arrived 4 years ago, and as of this morning, we're at 354. So, tremendous growth. Thank you. Yes, and give yourselves a round of applause, because almost everyone in this room is a member of the Visionary Society. And if you are not, please consider this your invitation. We would love to have your name on our purple wall. So see me afterwards. And also, the Visionary Society is really the backbone of the support of our operations. Without it, we could not do everything that my colleagues just told you about. It funds the Every Student Initiative. It brings our wonderful exhibits. T-Rex would not be here. So thank you so much to all of our Visionary Society members, all of our museum members. And we just look to keep growing and keep bringing you amazing opportunities for all of Central Illinois.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. One more thing to mention. Joan Krupp is here. Joan chairs the Peoria Falcon Circle. And can you talk about what is the Peoria Falcon, what is the Peoria Falcon Circle?
We're excited to launch this fall, thanks to Joan Krupa and her leadership with this effort. Our Legacy Giving Society. So we're calling it the Peoria Falcon Circle. The Peoria Falcon itself is one of the oldest known artifacts. It was found here in Peoria, downtown along the river, when some excavating was being done to build a factory long ago, back in the early 19th century. And it was eventually donated to the Smithsonian, so we are working with them to get it back here where it belongs in Peoria. And it's become a symbol for us of our longevity, our hope, and our thanks and recognition to everyone that has come before us. So it's become the symbol for our legacy giving group. And to get into the Peoria Falcon Circle, we'll have a wonderful inaugural class that we'll announce this fall. We'll probably have at least 70 members who already qualify for this list, which we are extremely excited about. And to get into the Peoria Falcon Circle, you can create a named endowment fund here with the museum. You can make an extraordinary gift to our collection. You can have a lifetime giving of $100,000 or more. So there are several ways to get into the Peoria Falcon Circle. It's going to be a great group. We hope to have some fun events and seminars and other things along the way. So that'll be coming this fall. Keep a lookout for it. And again, any questions, please let me know. I'm happy to let you know more.
Great. The Falcon is owned by the Smithsonian, and we're working to get it back as quickly as we can, but the Smithsonian is, nobody's going in to the Smithsonian. They're all working from home, and they were delayed. I'm not saying anything faulted Smithsonian, but we're working, moving forward, so we're waiting on the Smithsonian. And Joan, we're working. If I have to go out there and get the Falcon this fall, we'll see what we're going to do. But anyway, now, listen, big things on the horizon in terms of programming. New York City and Peoria, Illinois are developing a cultural relationship that is really special. We did the Whitney Museum of American Art. We're working with the Frick Museum on something we'll talk about a little later, the Henry Clay Frick Museum. Mark Elliott's Art of Film. Mark's a New Yorker through and through. And the American Museum of Natural History, where Rick Pearl grew up as a little boy. And when he was growing up in New York, he would go there over and over again. Well, they haven't even announced yet anything about this in New York, but I did talk to my colleagues there last night, and I can't tell you what it is we're working on in terms of a major exhibition, but let's say for a moment that they were working on something. And just for your benefit, since you took the time to come out to this extraordinary state of the museum, I'm going to not tell you what we might be getting from New York City. Let's see it, David. So let's just say that the largest exhibition of its kind ever on a particular subject is being put together right now by the biggest natural science museum of its kind in the world. And not saying what the topic is, but Peoria will be up front on this one. So, New York, Peoria, we continue to grow this relationship. We continue to appreciate the leadership of our staff, and let's give it up, if we can, for my colleagues and our staff. Thank you all for coming up here. So we want to conclude tonight with this. And Zach and Bill, maybe you hold back. If I can invite the chairman of the board to come up, and Sally Snyder, if you would. Sally helped us. It's helped the museum in so many ways, but we created an award called the James Smithson Award. It's named for the Brit who never visited the United States, but he loved what we did in the Revolution. So when he died, he left his fortune to the Congress of the United States. Can you imagine? And he said, this needs to go for education. And the Congress used it to set up something called the Smithsonian Institution. And we are one of the earliest affiliates of the Smithsonian. We're very proud of that, despite my needing to storm the castle to get the Falcon. Very proud of it. And so this museum is the only museum that gives out the James Smithson Achievement Award for a lifetime of contributions. And last year we were unable to give this award out. So tonight I want to talk about the year 2020 for a moment. And as we reflect back on the turning point that it represented for us behind the scenes for what a subject we've already talked about tonight, which is arguably one of few indigenous American art forms that we can truly claim as our own here in Central Illinois. And the man who has done more to help give liftoff to this national dream is here with us tonight, and he has been working with us for 30 years or more, starting with the days of a former chairman of the Collections Committee and member of this board named Merle Glick, himself a duck hunter and avid enthusiast of the decoy art form. And this man connected us to Tom Figge and to Joe and Donna Tonelli and to so many, the Harmons of Massachusetts, and to so many extraordinary collectors. This man helped us get the Hiram Holtz decoys, our first major acquisition in the collections ever since we've been in the Peoria Riverfront Museum just a month ago. This man is himself an art collector of 18th century American decorative arts and furniture. This man is a Renaissance man. He is a family member of Renaissance people as well. He is the brother of and brother-in-law of extraordinary leaders for our community. And his wife is one of the great people I know. Her name is Nancy, and his name is Randy Root. And Randy, if you'd come forward on behalf of the Board of Directors, I'd like to present you with the James Smithson Award 2020. Randy Root, ladies and gentlemen. Sally Snyder, herself a recipient of the James Smithson Award, and Steve Jackson and I present you with this with our deepest gratitude, Bill and Zach and all of us. Remarks.
Well, I started probably in the late 80s with Merle Glick, advising him on acquiring decoys for the Lakeview Museum. And then when John took over, I called John up, and you probably heard the story. I said, John, you have a great collection of decoys. You need to do two things. You either need to sell them or put them on display. And, of course, he agreed that we ought to do something with them. So that's how we got started. And it's been fun, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And I'm glad that John has taken the torch from Merle and going forward with the American decoys.
Thank you, Randy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know if it's deserved, but
It is deserved. Is it deserved? The most humble guy. People don't know Randy Root is such an incredible, and he knows everyone in the decoy world, the country over. So now,
I've been doing it for 50-some years.
since he was 2. Randy also happens to own one of the great duck hunting clubs in the world. And so it's just an extraordinary Central Illinois story. From Chicago, he comes here to Bradley and he stays. He used to hunt with his dad down here, and he stays and builds with his wife, Nancy. Let's hear it for Nancy Root here tonight. Now, it's a strange year because Randy received the award for 2020, the James Smithson Award. But we are in 2021, so Randy, now that you are an award recipient, and with Sally Snyder and Sid Ruckriegel, our inaugural winner, and our prayers and thoughts go out to Sid, who lost his father and whose service was this morning, could not be with us. But with the current recipient and the past recipient, I want to proudly announce that 2021, we've really thought long and hard about someone who embodies most the member spirit, the inspirational spirit of this museum. Now, I have to tell you, these people attend more events at the Peoria Riverfront Museum than anybody I've seen, and they go to openings, and they go to films, and in their retirement, he has served on the founding board of this museum, and she, this will give it away, was once in a place where she bought her ink by the barrels. As the editorials editor of the Journal Star, she oversaw an editorial staff who wrote more than 147 editorials in support of building the museum we're in right now for more than 30 years. Barb and Bernie Drake. Are here with us tonight, and let me tell you something, that they came to me right before the pandemic, and they said, with this Peoria Falcon Circle having lift, Zan Brandsburg had a party at her house, and they came. They said, you know what we want to do? We want to set up a named endowment fund so that for future generations, there'll be interest coming off it, and they became the first to do so with the new Peoria Falcon Circle. They're extraordinary people. They will continue to be the most energetic of our supporters, so please help me congratulate the James Smithson Award recipients for 2021, Barb and Bernie Drake. Please come forward.
Wow. I'm shocked. This is just incredible. So many people who have done so many wonderful things for this museum. And I'm not sure that we deserve this, but I'm awfully happy to get it. And I am very, very proud to be a part of this museum in the wonderful city of Peoria.
Ditto.
Ray, don't you wish I could give a speech that short? Well, listen, this concludes our State of the Museum. This concludes our State of the Museum presentation, but let me say it in case it hasn't been said. The state of our museum is strong. The state of our museum is strong, and this community is strong. Let's go out and keep inspiring each other and being inspired by each other. Thanks, Steve Jackson. Congratulations, James Smithson Award recipients. We've got some refreshments, our first reception in 16 months. So head to the lobby. God bless everybody. Thanks for coming.